Hey team, welcome back to the show. Today it is just Natalie and I. We're getting into she eats 2,500 calories and stays lean. So why can't you? This is a super common frustration. I see this a lot with like people will send influencers who talk about how they're cutting on 2,400 calories. But hey, I'm only able to maintain on way less than they say they're dieting on, let alone like when I diet, my calorie intake is so much lower. So we're just going to dig into why is there such a disparity here between individual intakes? Over time, will you be able to increase your maintenance intake so that it matches or is even higher than theirs? And really dig into some important framing for the rest of the episode being you can't compare your calorie target to someone else's calorie target without comparing the entire context behind it. So, just again, digging into a few common questions and again, why there's such a disparity around this. Natalie, what is your maintenance calorie intake right now?
I'm
3,000?
not what? 3,000?
3,000?
Yeah, at least. I'm not entirely sure right now. I'm building, so I'm in a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gaining on like 2,800 right now. So I would
Okay.
guess my maintenance might be somewhere like 25.
Some big dog shit. Not bad.
Not bad for someone who's 4'9".
As a reminder, which is also important context, Natalie is tiny in real life. She's 4'9". What do you weigh? Like, are you 97 pounds?
And a
Gone over.
half. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, tiny person. Somebody the other
Okay,
day was,
and also I feel like I have to for people that maybe don't know us that well and don't know that we're joking. I am 5'4".
yeah,
I'm coming in at a whopping 152 right about now, which is like 22 pounds heavier than Andrea right now. And she's 5'9", so that's like crazy to me.
and her maintenance calories are definitely lower than yours right now as well. One of my
Yeah.
clients, Stacy, who's super short, I think she's under 5 foot. Uh, I posted the something about you being like 4'9" the other day, and she's like, "What is she really?" It's like no, but it cracks me up that people do think it's serious.
I
Um,
know. But like this is I think we'll get into this. We better. But so I'm in a surplus, right? Which means like the scale has been going up. I mean, yeah, it's really been going up at this point. But so I'm in a bigger body. So my maintenance intake right now is higher than it would be if I was 30 pounds less. So
for
like when I was at my stage weight or something like that, like there's no way my maintenance was 2,500 to support like the little body I was in.
sure.
So as like you are in a surplus, and I mean again, like not everyone needs to be like in an aggressive surplus where they're just like pushing food, pushing weight up or anything of the sort. But like if you are in a surplus that and the scale is like meaningfully like ticking up like every month, your maintenance intake probably is increasing somewhat because now you're in a bigger body. And like ideally you're also gaining muscle, which is a small part of it. Again, we're going to get into all of this, but I think for me to sit here and be like, oh, my maintenance intake is probably around 25, 26 right now. I think the important thing to add is like, right, but I'm a lot bigger right now than I was like 6 months ago. And my maintenance intake at, 30 pounds less would not be that.
Yeah. The calorie cost of you moving an extra 30 pounds the entire day is significant, right? Imagine if you were to carry around a 30-pound weight vest, like wear a 30-pound weight vest around
I
the entire
am.
day. That's basically what we're doing, right? That's
But no,
like
it's
you're
true. It's
with
like
child.
but like, so every time I do my 10,000 steps a day, I'm doing it
Mhm.
with like a 30-pound weight vest. Essentially, I'm doing my cardio with an extra 30 pounds. Like I'm gesturing with more body weight. Like all of my neat and eat and all of that is done with like 30 extra pounds.
Just burning thousands of extra calories just through gestures. All right, but this is a very good transition into one of the biggest reasons why there's such a disparity between calorie intakes, which is going to be body size and muscle mass. So generally, taller and larger bodies are going to burn more. The larger a body is, the more calories it is going to take to maintain that body at rest. And as we mentioned, as we move through space. So a 5'8", 155-pound woman and a 5'1", 115-pound woman are likely not going to have the same calorie needs. Now, again, it's not just height. Like you mentioned, you are probably able to maintain on a lot more than Andrea right now. She's 5 inches taller than you. She's also lighter than you right now. She's also shredded right now, right? A lot of metabolic adaptation in the other way. Like you guys are like on the extreme opposite ends of the spectrum right now in terms of like building or fat loss, right?
Yeah.
So her maintenance right now is probably lower. She's taller, but again, like 130 right now?
It's around there. Yeah,
Okay, so
she's
like
been
20.
carrying around significant less body weight. Is
Yeah,
like relative. So
exactly. Um, I think that Rhea, former client of mine, is always a really good example because that's like the tiniest human I have ever seen in real life or worked with. I think Rhea was like 4'10", and we went through a fat loss phase, and she's again just a tiny person, just such a petite structure and a short and a very like petite structure, like small wrists, small ankles. I think at the end of our fat loss phase, she was 87 pounds.
that is crazy to me.
I remember sharing the strategy we used, and I gave like specific calorie numbers, and I think that on the days we were digging, we were close to 1,000 calories, which honestly, for someone that little is not, yeah, it's pretty good. Those were her low days. And I remember somebody commenting like, no one should never eat that low of calories. I was
Right,
like,
I remember that.
right, but if it's like for
She's
you,
like 85 pounds.
right, that's like like your dig days are like 1,800 calories, right? Nobody's gonna
Like
bat an eye at that. It's just relative to
my
your body size.
my dumbbell overhead press is like 45 pounds in each hand. Like that's like
Yeah.
overhead pressing Rhea like 12 times.
I
That's
remember
crazy.
that when she was there when we were training at Fit Lab, I was like warming up for my bench press with like the 85-pound dumbbells, and I was like, this is like one ray in each
You-
hand. It's wild, but she crushed
But it's
it. But
a great example.
absolutely, and that's the thing we need to understand is like when you're looking at someone's calorie intake compared to yours, do you know how much they weigh relative to you? Do you know how tall they are relative to you? Which I think is another good point in itself when like someone is so fixated on like I want my physique to improve, but I don't want to gain weight. Like if you're admiring jacked physiques, they probably do who can eat a lot more food than you and maintain. They also probably do weigh a lot more than like the goal weight you have in mind. Now, as we've alluded to, muscle mass does help. Not in a magical way of like I gained 5 pounds of muscle and now I can maintain on 800 more calories, but we do have to move a heavier body through space, right? So just like gaining more body fat, muscle is also metabolically active tissue. We are going to have to move a heavier body through space. And there is a caloric cost to maintaining additional muscle tissue. So it is going to help us burn more calories. Also is going to improve things like your insulin sensitivity and your nutrient partitioning, which again in the longer term will really help aid a better body composition. And I'll just say, like anecdotally, the clients who can maintain on the highest intakes are also always those who have the most muscle. Now, I don't know if this is something I've thought about quite a lot. If it's like a chicken or the egg thing, right? Like we could just say also the people who build muscle are typically the ones who are in a healthy position, right? Typically, like sex hormones are in a good place. There's not like any glaring health issues that we need to address first. So is it like because of that, and they just happen to be able to build muscle well because of that, and then also that's why we can maintain more, or like how much the muscle actually contributes to that. But again, we know it does contribute to a degree. Any additional takes on that?
No, I think that's a good point though. Like I think people love to focus on okay, we are the people who love to focus on because we just like we had a lot of podcasts about it and conversations because people love to hear about fat loss. So we're always talking about like how to get your body responsive toward fat loss and how you need to be like in a metabolically healthy place and like sex hormones, thyroid, like all of this stuff. But I think what doesn't really get talked about enough is like how all those things also need to be in a good place for you to productively build muscle. So the point that you're making here is like if someone has a lot of muscle and they're like building muscle like visibly relatively well, their body's probably in a good spot, which means like they're metabolically flexible, they're insulin sensitive, they so just elaborating on your point is all.
Very well done. Okay. So essentially, maybe she's just bigger and more muscular than you. Is an important consideration. Next, output. So our steps, our training, our cardio, our lifestyle. Now, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis is often the hidden variable, when we're looking at the difference between metabolisms, non-exercise activity is by far the biggest component of metabolism in terms of, why am I putting this so weird? The biggest difference between lean and obese individuals when we're looking at their metabolisms is the amount of calories they burn daily through non-exercise activity. There's a what is Black et al. There's a study on NEAT by Black et al. Where I think it's like up to 2,000 calories in difference in energy expenditure with individuals in the day to day. Again, they just compared a bunch of lean versus obese individuals. It's really pretty crazy just like how different that is. And that is really a big variable here. Now, first, of course, like someone with 12 to 15K steps, an active job, lifting 5 days a week, they have very different calorie demands. They burn a lot more calories than someone with 5 to 7K steps and a desk job. So maybe they are doing more cardio than you. Maybe they're moving more than you. I do think a lot of people underestimate how sedentary their life is outside of training, especially if we're not like very aware of steps. Um, yeah, and like, do you know how much cardio this person is doing? Do you know how much they're moving on the day to day? And then even outside of that, this is where some of the individual variability comes into play. Some people will upregulate movement a lot more. They'll do a lot more pacing, fidgeting, blinking as a response to eating more food. And again, this is just a genetic variability, but they'll do a lot more pacing, fidgeting, blinking as a response to eating more food. Their body is very good at maintaining. We can see their maintenance intake ramp way up. Others don't have that, and that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. Anything else you would add there?
Nope.
Okay, so maybe she's doing more cardio or walking more than you. Next, health considerations. So I mean, addressing important things like gut issues, I would kind of put thyroid issues in with this because a lot of times within like what we can do, they're connected. Typically, like if someone has gut issues, digestion issues, downstream we will see things like thyroid downregulation or sex hormone dysregulation. Basically, just ensuring that, hey, are our sex hormones in a healthy place? Is our thyroid in a healthy place? Your sex hormones play a big role in your ability to change your body composition. Estrogen really aids in nutrient partitioning and glucose utilization, in fat oxidation, helps you build muscle. Testosterone also really helps us build muscle. Has a lot of body composition benefits. So basically, are we sure these things are in a good place? And a lot of times this just comes down to addressing downstream or root cause issues like micronutrient insufficiencies, chronic dieting and underfueling are oftentimes like why things like this come up in the first place, or chronic stress, poor sleep, or all of the above. We don't need to dig into like how to address these things here, but so often when we have someone whose maintenance intake is a lot lower than we would expect in reality, those are kind of the root cause issues. Anything else you would add there?
Yeah, I mean, I think people underestimate how, I don't want to give everyone a complex here, but like, how impactful like a sluggish thyroid can be.
For sure.
And I'll take this opportunity to say like I'm on HRT for my thyroid.
Hmm.
Like I'll be very transparent about that. Like I basically don't have a thyroid, so like I have to take HRT like to have a thyroid, or to like be more metabolically active. So to be totally fair here, if I weren't supplementing with HRT, my maintenance intake would probably be far lower than it is.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I
Yeah.
have, it is quite interesting when it comes to thyroid, especially like someone who's on thyroid meds to keep their to manage like hypothyroidism.
Yep.
Um, it's quite interesting how much people underestimate the impact of that relative to fat loss. Like I have had a surprising amount of clients where it's like, man, things really just aren't moving. Like, are you timing your thyroid medication the same as you were before? Like, we're making sure we're not like drinking coffee right after or eating right after. And they'll be like, I've had this happen, I think probably 4 or 5 times where it's like,
Oh,
"Ah, I just
interesting.
haven't gotten around to picking them. I haven't gotten around to picking them up for like the last 2 weeks.
My sister does that. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, yeah.
It's like we really want fat loss, right?
All right.
Oh, so I may have not explained how much of a difference this makes, but it does make a big difference.
And like I see a lot of people, like I see a lot of labs where the thyroid is like it's basically like subclinical hypothyroidism, where
Yeah,
like a doctor would not diagnose you, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that your thyroid is like in an optimal place. which can affect what we're talking about here, which is like, hey, why do I have to diet on low calories, or like why is my maintenance intake not as high as it should be? Like these things do matter.
Yeah,
Um, and it depends on the resources you have available to you, like the healthcare providers you're working with and like, etc. But like it that impacts things a lot.
for sure. And again, not the case for everyone, but for a lot of women, it is something that is present that will be very helpful to address. All right, next up, incomplete context. You may not know if they are actually tracking their food accurately. You may not be tracking your food accurately, which is extremely common. I think that a lot of people's maintenance intake is a lot higher than they realize. They're
Mm-hmm.
just only tracking like 4 days of the week when we do happen to eat a lot less food. And then the other days of the week when we eat more food, we don't want to track. But our average intake is probably a lot higher than we realize. That's extremely common. Like, I don't get this as much anymore, but I remember for years, for the longest time, people would come on board like, oh man, I'm eating like 1,400 calories that I can't lose. And be like, okay, I looked at your food logs and you've tracked like 2 days in the last month. Where are we getting this number from? um, you may not know their weekly average, right? We may just only be seeing their high days. You don't know if they're enhanced or using other tools. Um, you don't know their steps, their cardio, their body weight, or their adherence. Basically, we probably don't have enough information to use their calories as a reference point for what you should be able to eat. Anything else you would add there?
Yeah, you never know what someone's sharing too. I mean, if you're like a lot of this conversation, I think is born from social media, like as
Mm-hmm.
comparison. Like, how are
Oh, yeah.
you? I mean, that's where people are getting this idea of like she looks like she eats a lot, like based on what I see on their Instagram or TikTok or something like that. And it's like, well, you're also seeing the day that they're showing you.
Yeah.
Like you don't, and like I think it's I mean, I know even sometimes like if I have like when I went to like the Minnesota State Fair or whatever, and like I tried all the bizarre foods and everything, and like if someone took that day out of context, be like, oh my gosh, like she eats so much. It's like a once a
I
year.
I knew the context watching that, and I was like, "Bro, I am not. I am not excited for what this check-in is going to look like when you get back."
Actually, no, that
Which,
was fine. I was on a maintenance break at the time.
yeah,
Remember?
no, you did good, but I
Yeah.
remember watching that and being like, "This is when that was like when you first started coaching. Was that before you even worked for us? That
No,
was I
I
just
was right.
coaching you?
I was working.
It's like
I
right
was
when you
working.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What?
Uh,
Go ahead.
my point being is like if someone saw that one day, it would be like, oh my gosh, and it's like, yeah, no, that's like a once a year.
Hmm.
you know, I think people like I think a lot of times people want to see what they want to see, and our eyes and attention are always drawn to like those Instagrammable foods, like that like new burger spot and like that everyone's posting about or whatever. And like that's what the brain remembers is like, oh, well, she was eating this, and it's like, okay, yeah, maybe like one time. Maybe that was like,
That's a good point, though. Like, it is interesting how much that gets latched onto more than like Katie and I will go out for a meal, but I don't really share it anymore because I do remember getting a lot of like, oh, how can I work this into my day? Which
yeah,
is,
I
go
I
ahead.
I've noticed. Sorry, I feel like I'm interrupting a lot, but like
No,
I
you're good.
I've noticed that like whenever I post something that's like out of my normal,
Hmm.
I feel like people really latch onto it.
Yeah,
And it almost feels sometimes like they think that it's my like tacit approval to like it's okay to like eat like this. And I mean, listen, I'm the first one to say like no food's off limits. There's no good and bad foods or anything of the sort, and like free meals have a time and a place. But it almost feels like, oh, well, like she's eating that, like so like this is all okay. And it's like, but no one really wants to pay attention to like the other boring meals that I eat 364 days out of the year.
yeah,
It's like I do think there's a lot to that people kind of latch on and kind of want to see what they want to see. And it's like maybe it's this like pie in the sky dream of like, we all want to know what's possible. And like if there was a way I could get away with like eating whatever I want and like still looking and feeling and performing the way that I want, like I would, but I know that I can't. So I lock in, but I think that sometimes a lot of people just really want like they want something to believe in. It's like they want to know it's possible and it's like it's kind of not. Like sorry.
It is a disheartening. I don't know if disheartening is the right word. I don't think it's like, yes, there's room for flexibility, and that's not what we're saying, right? Like we have a lot of clients who will take like a weekly untracked meal and things of that sort. But just over time, it becomes, I know you and I have talked about this a lot with like, it's just like, I value feeling good. I value like making sure my training is well fueled. Like, I don't want to like save up all of my food so I can like splurge tonight. I just don't have an urge to, right? I think that part of this too stems from people just spending so much time chronically trying to get leaner that like with where I think we're in the same place right now. Like, do you feel compelled to like go smash a bunch of delicious food?
No. Like
Right. Do you get there just for
first of
that?
all, I'm lazy and it's way too much work. Like get in.
There might be other
But
people there, which is a negative.
but like I honestly I feel like we've had this exact conversation, but like I'm gonna say the same thing that I said then, which is like I can't remember the last time I just said F it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that I've been like perfect and I haven't had some like bites licks taste like in my off season or or like an extra bite of this or something like not like that. I'm talking about a time where I was just like that's it. I'm just going to send it. Like I
Hmm.
can't nor have I been motivated to your point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there is a lot of benefit to spending a long time focusing on maintaining your building and being well fueled to where a lot of those quote unquote cravings will just go away, right? When we are in a place of abundance for a long period of time. Um, I really do think that is a big part of it. I feel like I see this relationship change so much, like with newer clients. Like the first time we go through fat loss, even where it's like, I want to try to work these things in and cool, like maybe if it makes sense, we can. But then after we like spend a long time building, go through the next phase, like it just is cool to see like how much that mindset changes. And again, it's not like a like, oh fuck, I would love to be able to go out and like go crazy at the Minnesota State Fair for like a month straight, but I just can't and I hate it. It's just like, no, like just like this lifestyle, I feel good, right? Like there's not like, yeah, we can work in some meals out, but I don't feel like I need to go crazy. It's just like the relationship changes in part just because again you've been in a place of abundance for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't really know if I have anything of value to add there. I agree. But I think also well, I know that, the palate is adaptable and it adapts to what you give it, as does
Hmm.
your brain. So, to your point, like clients doing better in their second round of fat loss versus their first round, it's like, when you're not trying to work in fun foods as much, it's like, you know what, like I'm just gonna commit to this meal plan. I'm gonna like lock in, do it. You start craving your own food.
Right.
Because like ideally you're eating food that you like and tastes good. So that's key. But again, over time, like you can adjust and adapt your palate and like it's going to crave what you give it.
To a pretty crazy degree, actually. I really think that like if we're in a fat loss phase and we're like, can I change this? It just like doesn't sound good to me anymore. We're not actually hungry yet. Like when you get to the point where you're
Yep.
hungry and we're getting quite lean, literally like anything tastes so good.
Yeah.
It's wild how just the basic like literally like chicken shredded chicken breasts and rice. It's just like delicious when you're hungry.
I remember like my dig days of prep. I was like making this like egg white pancake. Like that was it. It's like it was like egg whites and water, and then I like made it like a pancake. I think I put like whey isolate in there or something. That was it. It was like egg white and protein powder, and I thinned it out like with the egg white and made it into a pancake. And I was like, this is so good. It's like because it's all I had.
And if you try to eat that now, it's like, oh, what is this?
I'd be like, what was I thinking? Actually, that would be a good experiment, is just like to go back to my like struggle meals of prep now. like in this state of abundance and like see what it tastes like. Like this is disgusting.
All right. So, can you drastically increase your calorie needs? Can we drastically change our maintenance? And I think there's again a couple different situations where we can. If we're correcting thyroid issues, yeah, it can increase a pretty decent bit. Similarly, sex hormone issues in the long term, like us being in a healthier place there, will have a large impact on body composition, more muscle, better nutrient partitioning, etc. That won't be like an overnight shift though. I mean, like for example, if someone like starts thyroid replacement therapy, pretty quickly we are going to see a significant increase in in our thyroid expenditure. But again, sex hormones will be kind of like longer term. Yes, this person will probably need more calories, but it's more so as body composition shifts. Um, Go ahead.
I also think that people underestimate nutrient timing in this.
Hmm.
Because like people that want to eat a lot more food, like you literally partition nutrients better and use your food more when it is timed around your training.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's another reason why this like hoarding of food and calories until the end of the day, it's like if you are using if you're structuring your meals like according to how we do, like when we coach clients and how we do with ourselves as well, you will utilize that food better than
Yeah.
if you like let's say than if you weren't training. So like exact same intake, same meals, but like not training. And then you insert training, you've got most of your carbs like around in and around your peri-workout nutrition, you use that food better. Like you use those nutrients to build raw materials, right? So I think, and again, I'm not talking about this. This isn't a strategy of like, well, I'm just gonna like stash all my carbs around training, and now I can eat 3,000 calories. So that is not what I'm saying. But like all of these little things that we're talking about, like can add up.
Yeah. The chrononutrition research is really interesting as well. Like basically how our meal timing relative to like the time of the day and our circadian rhythm, because it does show that when we eat more in the morning, we do move more, burn more calories later in the day. Like our total expenditure is higher. Again, not that like eating at night is going to make you fat, but it is really interesting to like, I just feel like there are so many good arguments against calorie hoarding all of your food for the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
okay,
you, I
so
mean,
go ahead.
think about it like somewhat logically too, though. It's like, okay, I'm gonna eat this like giant bowl of like oatmeal, cream of rice, or whatever. Now I'm gonna go train. Cool.
Mhm.
Versus like, okay, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm gonna eat this giant bowl of oats or core and just go lay down for 9 hours. Like, to your point, it's like you're using it a little bit earlier in the day. Your expenditure is gonna pick up, like blinking, fidgeting, energy, like all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we can increase our calorie needs a good bit, if we correct thyroid issues. Again, addressing sex hormone issues will also help. You can move a lot more, you'll burn a lot more, and you will need to eat a lot more. You can gain a ton of weight, and that will make a difference as well. Might not lead to the outcome most people want unless we're packing on lots of tissue. If that's the case, hell yeah, brother. Gaining a lot of muscle, we're all for it. But outside of this, honestly, I wouldn't expect to be able to increase your calorie needs that drastically, which I think is a bummer for a lot of people. But I think it's just important to understand again, like if we don't want to move a whole lot more, if there's not some glaring issue for us to address, again, over time, like as we build more muscle, body composition changes, your needs will increase, but it will be a long play. There's not a lot we can do to just hack this, especially overnight. So to a degree, this may just be the hand you were dealt. I think that I wish Andrea was here because I was going to ask her how much she thinks like her caloric needs have increased from like 2022 till now. But Andrea's a good
Mm,
example of someone who just cannot eat as much as I would expect her to be able to. Would you agree?
she said that.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have, and I'm not sure I would have had that thought had she not mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I could see that, I guess.
When we were
But
coaching together, and I mean, I know she addressed a lot of this. I mean, we coached together so long ago, but like that was one of her main. I remember having a very long conversation about it, and it was quite interesting to see. Like, of course, she's dialed in, and she like got ripped, but it was also just so easy for her to gain. And she's talked through like her health phase, everything that she did since then to address that. Um, but even still, like I don't think her maintenance intake is all that high relative to how much muscle she has and just how tall she is.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see how things go in her reverse
Hmm.
because like again, she'll her body will be so primed
Hmm.
for growth of all kinds. So like, she'll be very insulin sensitive and like when you're starting out that lean, you're like it's almost like a clean slate in a way. Like, your body's like it wants nutrition so badly, right? And so you're like digging, when you're kind of that far into prep and then again you start to feed more and the metabolism starts like burning. I always tell clients it's like throwing logs on a fire. Like the more like kindle that you throw on the fire, the flame like burns like brighter and higher. And like that'll be her like going into her reverse, which I know she'll execute very well. So I would be curious to see like if that shifts way on the other side of like the once she's like out of the reverse and like more into maintenance and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll be
for
really
sure.
curious to see.
That will be a really interesting case study. Make a note to podcast with this about her in 6 months.
Yeah. Um,
Okay. Well, let's talk through what to focus on instead to kind of wrap it up. Because ultimately, focusing on how much someone else is eating does nothing to improve or change your situation. So, what can we do? We can make sure we're tracking accurately. We can eat a micronutrient dense diet to again support our internal health. Spend lots of time not dieting. That's really going to tip the scales in our favor. Again, make sure our sex hormones, our thyroid are in a good place. If you're not sure, get labs. Make sure. Focus on building muscle. Get a reasonable amount of daily movement. Anything else you would add there?
get off of social media.
Get off of social media, except for continue to follow us.
Yeah,
But outside of
obvious.
that,
No, but like
cool.
if honestly, if it's like triggering to like always look at someone who's posting their free meal all the time, like then unfollow, like get off of social. I think social media has done a lot of wonderful things, for me personally, but there's a downside too, and comparison is like arguably the worst part of social media. It's like everyone's comparing, but it's again, like we said earlier, it's super important to remember that like you're only ever seeing what someone wants you to see.
And again, it just doesn't do anything to actually improve or change your situation, right? So, what can we control? Let's focus on that. That is all we have for today. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you would like to apply for coaching, hit the link in the show notes, and we will catch you guys next time.